What's up, guys? Just last week in my village, I heard of this young guy who had a fracture. He went to the village hospital. There's a clinic, and he stayed there for like 2 weeks. Before you know it, his family rushed and discharged him forcefully against the doctor's advice. Eventually, they took him to traditional bone setter because they believed that fractures will be healed by tying it tightly and by applying herbs. Needless to say that eventually he developed some serious complications and had to be rushed back to the hospital so that he can be managed well. Why? Because when the herbalist tied that leg, he ended up cutting off blood flow. And as a result, blood was no longer flowing to the leg. This was a serious complication, and his leg, needless to say, had to be amputated. Because by then gangrene had formed. It was already black in color and it was already getting really bad. So they had to cut it off so that whatever was wrong would not get to other parts of the body. And this is the reality of many people, but you never hear about it. You only hear about people that got recovered by the traditional bone setters. So how did we even get to this place where we think that tying a fractured leg or hand and applying herbs is how to heal fractures? So imagine in 1492, a guy has a fracture and the village traditionalist or herbalist applies herbs and ties it, and the fracture heals perfectly and the guy goes home well. But what we do not realize is that there is what we call a simple fracture. A little fracture that just maybe like a cut like this, just a cut. So all you needed to do was just keep the leg one place and it will heal because the body heals itself. But there are other kinds of fractures that are what we call comminuted fractures or oblique fractures, different kinds. In fact, comminuted fractures happen and all the bones are scattered around the place. If you do what the herbalist did for that simple fracture, that person is going to suffer because the bone might heal, but the leg is probably going to be bent, or what we call bagolo bagolo. So for a fracture to really heal, number one, you need blood to be flowing to that area, so that cancels out the tying. And then number two, you need to align the bones properly. If the bones scattered like that second case scenario, then you need someone to go in there and put the bone fragments one after the other and make sure they are properly aligned. That's the job of an orthopedic surgeon. That's why they do this surgery. They need to arrange the bones so that everything will be straight. After it has become straight, then they use a cast and hold it in place. That's why it takes time. So they put you there and to allow the bone to heal, to fuse in a correct state. So if there was no cast, you see that the bone will heal, but it will heal maybe one kind and look like this. If you're looking at the person's leg, it will look like this. Look at the person's hand, it will look like this. Something, you know. And so many adults walking around with one leg shorter or one bone crooked are victims of these myths. Every physiotherapist knows the heartbreak of seeing preventable deformities that was rooted in native treatment. Science is not your enemy, man. Guys, see, some people argue, but our ancestors used herbs. Yes. But they also used stones for childbirth. Yes. They also did bloodletting to cure fever. They will cut the person so that fever will go. But now you are taking malaria drugs. In fact, they even thought that epilepsy was witchcraft. So should we continue those ones too? We don't reject tradition, but we upgrade it with knowledge. If your phone spoil, you know, go carry leaf, go repair them. So why will you do that with your bone? So herbs can soothe pain, but they can't fix alignment. No one is dragging herbs with anybody. They have their own uses: antiseptic, anti-inflammatory, mild pain relief. But you see, healing fractures? Nah.